And in particular, of course, after that wonderful address by Pastor Dottie, it's a hard act to follow. But I'm sure that he touched the heart and he touched spirits. And we are all raring to go. Not to go home, to go and vote. The speaker who will follow me is well known as the man in Trinidad and Tobago who best knows how to deal with crime, how to handle the security forces so we bring an end to that feeling of danger that we all experience on a daily basis. But tonight, and it is so vital because nothing else can happen in Trinidad and Tobago. The economy can't grow, health can't do well, roads can't be fixed unless we get crime under control. But more than getting it under control, I am going to tell you that we have to break the cycle of poverty, the cycle of crime, the cycle that will continue to draw out more and more criminals on a daily basis. Even if you got rid of it now, there are more emerging on a daily basis. And therefore, our policies must seek to deal with the underlying causes of crime, of poverty, and inequality in our society. And unless we do that, we will continue to suffer from crime, from drug lord, and we need to start the journey, because the journey is not overnight. I'm not telling you there's a magic bullet. But if you don't start the journey today, then we will continue and reach that destination called Haiti 2 that Pastor Dottin has told us about. So what it is happening in our society that churns out all of this poverty, this grinding poverty, the gang and the crime and the guns on a daily basis, the murders. But when we look at the fact that 66% of our youth come out from education and do not pass. We have those who go into the secondary school system and drop out. And of course, there are those who don't get a full pass at the end. And if you put all of that together, it is 66% of our people, of our students, who are falling under the radar. What can you expect if we continue to do that, other than to have people looking for a living, attracted to crime, attracted to gangs? And that is the entry point in which we have to make a difference. We have changed the education system. Not just change, we have to re-engineer it all together. And to re-engineer that, you need to break it down into its component parts and start afresh. To break that cycle that has been created, and we wonder why it is that we reach here. Lloyd Best in 2004, he said that the policies that we had introduced, in fact, he referred to the PNM had introduced, was an abomination in the way that it strangled the poor. It kept them just for the purpose of winning elections, it kept them deprived. It kept them uneducated. And today it is we who have to reverse that process. And we fail to do it. If we fail to do it, we are in danger. We are in danger. So we have to break that cycle. One of the areas that we may not have thought of, but we say represents a very fundamental aspect. And I talk to you now about infancy. You have to understand an infant in the womb and an infant at birth is born and grows. 80% of its neurons in the brain connect by 3 years old. By 3 years old, we could have lost our infants to a purposeful, well-meaning life. If they face toxic stress. And that is what is happening in our communities. Young people are experiencing toxic stress that is being passed on to infants. And their brains, their neurons in the brains do not meet. And do you know what happens when that occurs? It means that when those infants grow into primary school, they sit down there and they cannot understand the teacher. They see their peers. Their peers are understanding, they're doing well, and they become frustrated naturally. They become angry. They start getting into fights because they just cannot learn, because toxic stress has damaged the neurons in their brain. And so how do you intervene in this process where these infants suffer like this, going to primary school, and by the time they reach age 11, all they're ready for is to join the gang. They're not ready to continue their education. They're already being attracted into it as the only methodology by which they will feel some comfort. They will feel as if they could achieve something through the gang. And we have to break that cycle. So how do we break the cycle? We say, and this is what the science tells us coming out of Harvard and Stanford and other universities, that one of the things we need to do is to provide a stable, safe environment for these infants, so that they experience love, care, and attention, that they are cherished, that they can bond with a caregiver. And if they fail to have that experience in this infancy, this 3-year period, there will be exceptions, but they can be doomed. Their future could be doomed from that moment on. So what we say that needs to be done is that the government, our government, we in government need to support NGOs, FBOs, who will undertake to set up nurseries and daycare centers within challenged communities. You see, in the rich communities, that's how children get a head start, as it were, because in those tender ages, under 3, they are experiencing that nursery care, that love, attention. They're cherished and loved. They're provided with stimulating toys, because unless you do that, that's how the brain grows, or that it gets stimulated. It then experiences creativity to its max. So if you're going to break that cycle, that is one of the entry points. But beyond infancy, of course, is primary school. And unless we introduce into the curriculum of our primary schools character education, civics, unless they have, even at that primary level, exposure to tech pocket education, to understand that there is not one way only that children learn. They all have different intelligences. And here in Trinidad and Tobago, we say the children must fit into the education system. But what should be happening? The education system should be molded around these children so that they can experience, they can achieve that God-given talent that they were endowed with from birth. They can become more than they are allowed to now to do. And they can flourish. So we will get a new generation. And if you do that, it will take 5 years, maybe 10 years to break that cycle. So the children coming out of primary school will be exposed to textbook education. Because, we think that perhaps that's for later on. But even in those days, at that formative period, the children are exposed to both academic and textbook education. They will learn, they will be attracted, they will know, they will sense what best allows them to fulfill their wishes, their inner desires. And in our secondary school, we need that too. We need character education. We need a value system that is driven through. And we must develop that. There's no place like Trinidad and Tobago that has the music, the songs. People will tell you, music can touch the heart and spirit like nothing else. I'm sure if you think back, you remember songs from your childhood because it is instilled in your heart. You can do that in the secondary education system as well. We can use music, we can use mascots to teach children. Children are endeared to these fuzzy animal type creatures who come as mascots. We must create opportunities for them so that they can accomplish their goals, their life dream. And that is the only way in which you're going to break that cycle of crime, that cycle of corruption, that cycle that endears people that feel they have no other choice. We have to provide those choices. And you say to me, you might think, this textbook education. I'll tell you a story. When I was acting as president, President A.N.R. Robinson had died. His daughter came to see me in the parliament. And one of the things she told me then that stayed with me is that she was a teacher herself in a challenged community. And what she did, the opportunity was given to them to learn coding and software programming. They brought in some person to teach them how to do those things. One of the things that occurred is those students had really dropped out. They were physically there, but they had dropped out of school. They achieved the best. We treat them as dropouts, and yet that is the future that we're looking at. AI is another industrial revolution of tremendous dimensions, and which allowing our students to miss the boat when that is a crucial time that gives them the opportunity to learn textbook. Because the jobs that will exist 10 years from now don't exist today. So how are you going to be teaching this remote thing about how to learn about these things when in fact those jobs will not exist? And the government talks about this. There is a policy that says in 2023 we will have textbook education in school. Has it really happened? And unless we make that happen, we get further and further down the road where students fall out of the system and get attracted to gang as the only way that they can survive, as the only way they can feel a sense of love, a sense of attention. And one of the things that happened at independence, as you know, we created these watchwords, said discipline, tolerance, and production. And we dust it off once a year and think, that is something that we do. We need to drive home those values. We have to change the culture. In the business world, you see that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's why creating a culture where people feel passionate about Trinidad and Tobago is important, so that we can grow up as we get young people coming into the field. They feel part of Trinidad and Tobago. They have a desire to change and make it better. Imagine it, as I mentioned, the music that we have, the creative energies that are there, that press those values to enter into their hearts and minds. It will be transformative. It will allow us to have a new culture. And one of the things that I experienced working in the energy industry was we had acquired this company, and I was on board. One of the things we found is our safety record was absolutely abysmal. Right there in Point Instance, there was 13 lost time injuries per million man hours. It was totally unacceptable. We said we have to change that. They laughed at us. They said, Chini, don't have our safety. We're not interested in safety. We said, no. We will make a change. And we were able, within 5 years, it took time to change the culture. We were able to get down to 0 LTIs in 5 years' time. So don't tell me that guys Chinis like it, so we can do better. You know what it takes? It takes leadership. That is the difference. So here in the energy sector, we have people working in a first world environment, full of productivity, discipline, tolerance, safety. We have that there, but we can mirror that within the whole of Trinidad and Tobago with the right leadership. And the right leadership will allow us all to a country that is more productive. We can then have an economy that grows using our own energies, our own creativity, our own adaptation of AI. So today I am asking each of you, we think that we have no power. I think you have power. You have friends, you have power. Your family, you have power. Because you must touch the hearts and minds of every individual with whom you come into contact. If each of you tonight made 10 friends who are willing to support the alliance, that would be what? 30,000 overnight. And those 30,000 touch 10 more. We can do it. Pastor Doctrine has told us we can be successful. We put our minds, our heart, and our energies to it. The People's Alliance will succeed and will bring good governance to Trinidad and Tobago.